you've obviously got a doctor behind you going in with the needle, and you're constantly worrying about, is it damaging my nerves? Is it going to cause me to be paralysed because I've signed that form? And so all that was going through my head. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to share with you my story of having a lumbar puncture procedure, because I've had a lot of comments recently asking how my lumbar puncture was, and because I did have quite a difficult process where it was 3 lumbar punctures that I had to have in the end after 2 failed attempts, which really wasn't nice. So I thought I'd just share my story from start to finish of what a lumbar puncture procedure feels like, and kind of, is it worth having, essentially. So if you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more videos about my journey with MS.
I used to like seeing you in town. Now it's strange when you're not around. I used to like seeing you in town. Now it's strange when you're not around. It's not for...
So we'll start off then with what is a lumbar puncture briefly. So essentially a lumbar puncture is, they have to stick a needle right into the sort of the base of your spine to suck out some spinal fluid so that they can analyse it, because essentially for MS, typically got oligoclonal bands that are positive in your spinal fluid and then negative in your blood. So it's a very strong indicator that you do have MS, and in a lot of cases it's the final hurdle to pass in order to get a diagnosis. So I was really keen just to get one done really quickly, get it just in and out. I was very apprehensive actually, because I'd heard about it and people said, "Oh, you don't want to get a lumbar puncture done, or a spinal tap as it's known," because it just sounds like a horrible experience, because they're obviously sticking a needle right into your spine, and there can be complications. So before my first lumbar puncture, they made me sign a document that basically says, if you're paralysed, it's not our fault. And so that was pretty scary, really, having to sign that form. That essentially, if anything goes wrong, it's not the NHS's fault, and that basically, if I get paralysed, it's completely my decision to go ahead with the procedure. So that was really scary to sign, and it makes you think it over. And from then onwards, in the back of my mind, I was constantly thinking, oh God, is this going to paralyse me, you know? And so throughout the whole procedure, I was constantly worried about that, because you can feel, for starters, you're under anaesthetic, so you can't really feel it. It's an odd sensation, so it feels like you're being prodded almost, even though it's actually a needle, because you can't feel the sharp needle, but you can feel that something is going into you. It's really hard to describe. But so the whole time, that almost adds to the fear of it, because you don't exactly know what's going on. And they tell you, you know, if you have any sharp pains up and down your leg, do let us know. They kind of make that urgent and make it sound big and scary, and that just freaked me out even more, because I was thinking, God, does this feel sharp? Should I be telling them about this? Should I not? And so for that very first lumbar puncture, I was really not in a good way, because I'd basically been told the day before that I had an MRI, and they said that, look, we can see demyelination, you need to come into hospital. And I came straight back in, and they basically kept me in overnight, and then it was the following day that they attempted the first lumbar puncture. So I was already shaken and shocked by the fact that I was staying over in hospital, and then I was getting rushed to have this lumbar puncture done. And for starters as well, they put you in a position, so you're kind of curled up into the fetal position. And for someone like me, who's 6'4", probably the least flexible person going, that was really uncomfortable as itself, just being in that position. So I was trying to hold that position, really contorting my body, crouching over into that fetal position, and then you've obviously got a doctor behind you going in with the needle, and you're constantly worrying about, is it damaging my nerves? Is it going to cause me to be paralysed because I've signed that form? And so all that was going through my head, really, and I was just overly thinking about it, and I just wanted it to be over and done as soon and as quick as possible. Unfortunately though, for me, they couldn't get it out at all. So they were trying, and I could just keep hearing the doctor saying, oh, it's just not coming out. And I was there just like, oh, please, just get it, just come out. At this point, I was kind of like just so had enough of it. It was kind of like torture, really, that I was just wanting this to be over and done with and just get this fluid out. And so they kept asking me to kind of bend over a bit more, crouch over more, changing the angle. And all in all, it was kind of like, it was probably 45 minutes to an hour of trying before they eventually said, look, we can't do it anymore. You're just gonna have to rest and lie down, and we'll maybe try and give it a go another time, essentially. And so I was pretty gutted from that because, like I say, I felt like I'd gone through all that trauma, all the panicking, all the uncomfort, for no outcome, essentially, because they hadn't got the fluid out, the one thing that they needed. And so I felt really dejected after that experience, and I felt like I've kind of been through hell and got nothing out of it. So then the following day in hospital, they said, right, we're going to give it a go again. And I thought, oh God, I was just hoping and praying. I was like, look, just get someone that's really good at this, so that they can just go in and out and get it as quick as possible. And they said, yeah, we're getting the best people involved. Don't you worry. And so then I kind of psyched myself up for it. I was like stretching by my bed to try and loosen up my hamstrings so that I could bend more in the fetal position, because I was thinking maybe it's because I'm not flexible enough. So I was doing all that, getting myself psyched up, and then I essentially had the same all over again. So they just could not get the fluid out. They kept trying and trying, putting the needle in, and just nothing was coming out. I could hear the doctor behind me getting frustrated themselves, in themselves, and just the fact that they could see that I was, really uncomfortable and just wanting this to be over and done with, but they just could not get the fluid out. I wouldn't say it was as bad as the first time, because I kind of knew what to expect. I knew what it kind of felt like, the odd sensation of something being stabbed into your back, but you can't really feel it. But it still wasn't pleasant at all, because, as I say, I was just wanting it to be over. I just wanted to get the fluid so that we could move on, get the test done, and I'd have an overall diagnosis straight away. So yeah, that was failed attempt number 2, and it was another sort of hour-long procedure. So another painstaking, traumatic experience, really. As I say, not quite as bad as the first one, but I was just so defeated and dejected after that, because I was like, right, I've been through this horrible thing twice now, and still not got anything out of it. Like, the one thing I didn't expect going into it was that they wouldn't actually be able to do it. The only thing I was worried about was how uncomfortable I would be, the odd feeling, the worry that I might be paralysed. But I never thought in a million years that they wouldn't be able to get it done, and then yet alone that to happen twice in a row. So I was really completely just dejected and downbeat about this, and thinking, what are they going to do from here? And I knew that the option was that you can get an anaesthetist to do it, because the anaesthetists apparently are really good at it, because they do it all the time. They do it for pregnant women, they do epidurals, and so it's well known that they're quite kind of really good, really quick at it. They can just go in and out. They're much better than the general doctor who does it typically, and that was who was trying with me. And so when I got to having the 3rd attempt for a lumbar puncture, this was at a different hospital actually, for a different relapse, I kind of insisted. I said, look, I want an anaesthetist to do this, because I don't want to go through that again. And they kind of came back to me and said, look, we can't do that, basically turning me completely down, saying, we can't do that. We've got no anaesthetists that can do it, but we have got a doctor. He's really confident in doing it for you. What we can do is do a quick ultrasound just to have a look at your back first and your spine, and just check that there's a good gap that he can go in. And then we can, we're pretty sure that it'll be a good experience from there. And so after a lot of thinking, because I really didn't want to go through that traumatic experience again, but I really obviously wanted the result. I wanted them to get the fluid so that I could move on and get the diagnosis. So I agreed, and that was it was probably the best decision, because in the end, he did the ultrasound, so he had a look. He was really confident. He said, look, there's a great big gap here that I can slip the needle in, so I'm really confident I can get it done. Are you happy to go through with it? And I said, look, you're really confident, let's just do it. And this was like night and day, because this experience, he literally just laid me down. I was a lot more comfortable because I'd been through it twice. I knew exactly what to expect. But he pretty much stuck the needle in, and within about 5 minutes, probably less than that, probably a couple of minutes, he was saying, yep, we've got it. And just hearing those words was like, oh, the relief that I felt when I was like, oh, thank God, it's actually happening. He's getting the fluid. And I was just lay there on the bed, just so happy in that moment. And it felt like it was all over from then on, because I was like, right, we've done it now. All he's got to do is pull the rest of it out, and we're done. And luckily that was the case. So I was massively relieved at that point, over the moon really. And I was by the end of it, I was actually quite emotional. And like talked to the doctor, I was like, just thank you so much. And he was like, oh, don't worry. It's, it's my job. It's what I do. And I was like, well, you don't understand how bad my first two experiences were. So for it to just be an in and out job like that, I'm both amazed and so grateful and thankful. And so yeah, the third one was a really straightforward experience, and that's the kind of experience I'd expect for 99% of people. And I was probably just in the unfortunate 1% that had major difficulties, probably due to my body shape, being so tall, not being very flexible. All those things added up, and unfortunately I just had to go through those two kind of traumatic experiences to then get the third and final one, which was just so easy and straightforward, and it was like night and day. I couldn't believe how different it was compared to the early ones. And so I'm sure that if you're out there now and you're thinking of having a lumbar puncture done, or the doctor's told you to, I'm sure the chances are you'll be just like that third procedure. And in which case, from my experience, you know, the only thing that was bad about my lumbar punctures was the fact that they couldn't get it out, and so it dragged on for so long. So it was, you know, upwards of an hour both times. That was kind of what was horrible about it. The actual procedure itself, you have anaesthetic. That kind of hurts when they stick the anaesthetic needle in because it's quite a big needle. And then when they're actually doing the procedure, it's mainly about getting into that fetal position. And when the needle's going in, like I say, it's an odd sensation, but it doesn't hurt. Let's say you know something's going in. It's a bit like someone's prodding you in the back as opposed to sticking a needle in. And occasionally you'll feel it touch something, and it's uncomfortable because you do feel things, and like I say, because you've signed that form saying that, you know, you could get paralysed from this, you do panic. Your mind is thinking about those things, but if you just relax, take it slow, you know, deep breaths, things like that, and just let the doctor do what they got to do, I'm sure in 99% of cases it will be a straightforward procedure, straight in and straight out, and you'll get that spinal fluid and you'll be able to move on from there and get that diagnosis. So I hope my experience hasn't scared you off too much and you're not completely dreading a lumbar puncture now. But as I say, I do think that in the majority of cases it will be fine. It'll be a straightforward procedure, in and out. But that's pretty much my story. Please do let me know in the comments if you've had any similar stories with your lumbar punctures, or if you were just a straight in and out. I think it would be great to hear from those people that it was a really easy procedure, just to, you know, let other viewers know that it's not every experience is as bad as mine, and that a lot of people do just have a really easy in and out job. So yeah, please do get involved in the comments and let me know. And thanks for watching the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this in the future about my journey with MS.
I used to like seeing you in town.